Welcome back to TRP, everybody. Scott with you as always. We are thrilled today to be joined by a man whose voice is an unmistakable part of the British New Wave invasion of the 80s when he was the lead singer of the multi-platinum worldwide chart-topping band Spandau Ballet. The 80s weren't the 80s without Gold, Only When You Leave, Communication, Muscle Bound, and of course True, and that's just scratching the surface. His latest record is a brilliant dive into the swing music and the standards that he grew up with, called If I Can Dream. Tony Hadley is with us on the record player. Welcome, Tony. How are you?
Thank you very much. Nice to talk to people in Canada. I haven't spoken to anyone in Canada in a long while, but yeah, no, really good. Yeah,
Where are you right now? Are you in London or?
I live no. We moved out of London. We live in Buckinghamshire. I mean, literally a hamlet with a pub. It's not even a village. It's that small, and and it's raining and it's wet and it's cold and it's January. Well, no, it's February actually. Yeah,
Oh, no,
and in the UK, so it's the usual stuff. But we're all locked in tonight, so it's TV night.
well, here it is, snow, 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 and that's that's all we're
But
getting.
I'd say I love it. I love it when it snows. I love that. It's great. We don't get snow very often, but when it happens, I love it.
It may be only 1 p.m. here, but it's dinner time there, so I appreciate you joining us, and
Oh, that's fine. No worries.
hopefully we can get you fed soon. I'm going to try to cover the whole gamut here in the time that we have, but let's start with the new album. It's been out since December. It's fantastic. Tell me a little bit about If I Can Dream.
It's I mean, I love swing music, big band music. I mean, I grew up with my parents massively influencing me with Sinatra, Jack Jones, Ella Fitz, the Rat Pack, all those wonderful Tony Bennett, of course. And so I did a swing tour about a year and a half ago, really successful, did brilliantly. We had an album released from that called The Mood I'm In, which is an old Jack Jones song. And then I decided to do another tour, a bigger tour, which has done phenomenally well, sold out. And If I Could Dream is the title track of the album. And it's an old Elvis Presley
Mhm.
song that was written for the 68 comeback special. And it's just got those beautiful da 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 da, those beautiful horns and stuff, and the lyrics to the song, I always say as poignant today as they were when they were written in 1968. So it's a collection of songs. One new song called Mission Impossible. That's my kind of James Bond nod to James Bond. But yeah, really, got some couple of standards in there: The Good Life, Fly Me to the Moon, that kind of thing, Sea of Love. Um, yeah, I really super enjoy singing those kind of songs.
You mentioned the second swing record. What's the difference? The first one was, I think, over a year ago.
Yeah,
When 2024, I believe. What's the major difference between these two records?
I think this one. We recorded an old Doors track on the Mood I'm In called "Touch Me," which was just crazy. I mean, it's big band because it's got the full brass Monty on it, but it's a bit barking mad. I mean, let's be honest, it's a crazy kind of song. And then we had a bit of a cheeky new number on it called Walk of Shame, which anyone who's had a late night in a holiday destination will know what I'm talking about. So that was kind of more kind of Jack Jones based. Jack Jones was, I'm a massive fan of Jack Jones. Sadly died about a year ago now. And whenever he came to London, I always used to we used to go and see him and have a beer with him or whatever. And he's just a phenomenal singer. And this one's just a little bit more mellow. Got a couple of live tracks. If I Can Dream is live, the Presley song recorded at Symphony Hall in Birmingham, along with Fly Me to the Moon. And I
Hmm.
think there's one more live track as well. But
Uh, Summer Wind? Was that the?
Summer Wind, thank you.
Yeah,
Beautiful song.
yeah.
Beautiful song, Summer Wind, yeah. And yeah, I just, I mean, does anybody sell albums these days? Yeah, we've done actually quite well, but it's phenomenally difficult to sell albums. It's very strange. I don't know about Canada, but in the UK, it's just weird. You go in the charts, drop and out. It's kind of, but but we're lucky that the fans have bought the vinyl. The vinyl seems to have gone really, really well. It's a blue kind of blue note cover with pink vinyl inside, and people seem to have really kind of gravitated towards that. So thank you very much for buying my album.
You mentioned James Bond. I mean, if there's very few people that I can think back to that would sort of suit, it's Tony Hadley. I mean, you've always kind of had that. Uh,
Yeah, I've kind of got that. I mean, I trained. Funny enough, I trained with a Canadian opera singer who lived in London, Pamela Dodds, and she was amazing. And she said to me, I spent 2 years with her, and she said, "Look, I don't want to teach you to sing like an opera singer, but you've got a pretty unique voice.
mhm.
I want to enable you to be able to sing in 30, 40, 50 years' time." And I'm still lucky that I've not had to drop the keys to any of the Spandau repertoire or anything like that. I mean, in fact, I could probably sing higher there than I could when I was 25 or 35. And I suppose, in a way, my voice was influenced by early Sinatra, people like Mario Lanza, early Tony Bennett, because of my parents. They literally, I grew up on that kind of stuff. So there's a sort of sometimes a semi-operatic kind of vibe going on. And I think the new song Mission Impossible is that kind of James Bond, fill your lungs and blast it out kind of thing. So I'm really pleased with the song. It's a real femme fatale song.
In a lot of cases, I think people, when they're trying to do that kind of stuff, they almost turn into a caricature
Yeah.
trying to imitate Sinatra or whatever. Whereas you keep it where it's certainly Tony Hadley. I mean, you're not being Sinatra. You know what I mean?
No, I'm not trying to be anybody. Well, I can't sound like anybody else
But you,
but me. I mean, some people like my voice, some people don't. I mean, it's whatever. But whatever I say, I mean, if it's a David Bowie song, with like Life on Mars, or in the past, I sometimes sung Ziggy Stardust or Rock and Roll Suicide, or an Elton John song, or whatever I sing, it just sounds like me. I can never escape my voice. So
that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
yeah. I mean, I think the beautiful thing about music is it's not how technically great you are. The wonderful thing about singers is, you put on a Duran record, it sounds just as Simon Le Bon, Brian Ferry, David Bowie, Elton John, Rod Stewart, Daryl Hall. I mean, John Cougar Mellencamp, Brian. I mean, there's an identity to the singer, and for me, I'm always looking for great singers, and that's what I love.
Isn't it funny though that all these years later, you're all of a sudden you're performing and you're out doing your stuff that your parents, right? I mean, I
Yeah.
find myself as I get older, uh, admiring the pipe band music because that's what I grew up with my dad listening to and
Okay.
listening to Cliff Richard and stuff that my mom was loved, right? So
Yeah.
isn't it weird how it evolves into
Well,
that?
everything goes round, and then interestingly, I mean, I met Sinatra when I was 17, and he said to me, "Hey, nice to see some young people coming to the concerts," which is exactly what I say to the young people that I meet today, because they've been dragged along by their parents and stuff, and said, "You will listen to Tony Hadley, and I'll drag you along to the concert." And it's great to see young people, and they know the words to all the songs. I mean, they're incredible. So we see that in festivals, not just on the big band shows, but when we do the rock shows as well, and we do a couple of new songs, they're singing all the words, which is fantastic. Yeah, brilliant.
Certainly, you've evolved obviously as an artist, and that's not really new. Evolution is something that all artists do and all bands do as they get. But even back in the old days, Spandau Ballet didn't start off doing things like True and Gold.
Yeah.
It was you guys started out as more of a British punk band back in the late '70s, right?
Well, we were. I mean, we formed the band when we were at school. Typical R&B covers, saw us standing there, Midnight Hour, that kind of stuff. And then we started writing, and we became a punk band. So we played where the Clash played, where Susie and the Banshees played, and Chelsea, and all those kind of great Generation X. So, I mean, I loved punk. I mean, punk was a wonderful time in London. I mean, you could see different band every single night of the week. And so we played all the Roxy and all those great punk clubs, Greyhound, Fulham Palace Road, and we played all those kind of places. And at one point, I thought we were going to get signed as a punk band, but we didn't. And it was another 2 or 3 years later before we got signed as Spandau Ballet. And by that time, everything had changed. The whole punk thing had turned on its head. You had Depeche Mode in Basildon, you had the Human League, you had Duran, and just everything, Classics Nouveau, Ultravox, everything was changing. I mean, Systems of Romance by Ultravox with John Fox as a singer. I mean, they were supporting Eddie and the Hot Rods at the Rainbow in London, and I was just mesmerised. One of the most exciting bands that I've ever seen. And so I was lucky to live in that era where I could see live bands all the time, and lucky that we eventually got signed to Chrysalis Records.
And then you evolved even more, like you said, going into that new wave. I mean, the British new wave to Canada, for example. I
Yeah,
remember you mentioned it, Human League, Ultravox. I always, for some reason, I always put Spandau Ballet near OMD because those are the two bands that I were first
yeah,
introduced to here in Canada.
yeah.
Coming over, right? What are your memories of? I mean, do you have any memory? Canada, I think, sort of embraced that sound and that feeling a little more than the States did at that time.
Definitely. I mean, the States was kind of they weren't quite sure what was going on the West Coast, and certainly on the East Coast, New York, and with the trendy clubs and stuff. It sort of embraced it, but not on a big level at all. So Canada was much more into, to cut a long story short, the freeze and muscle bound and stuff like that,
Hmm.
which was quite unusual kind of stuff, really.
Yeah.
And we came over to Canada. We did a couple of 2 or 3 tours of Canada, and then we stopped coming for some reason. I don't know why. And as a solo artist, I've never been back to Canada. If there's anybody out there that wants me to come along with my band and play in Canada, then give us a call, because we'd love to come back. We had some fun times there.
We will set it up, man. I'm telling you, we'll get you here. I know through the years there's been some contention within Spandau Ballet, obviously, uh,
Just a tad.
just a little bit. So many years have passed, and you went through the breakup, and then getting back together and doing the reunion, you know,
Yeah.
thing, and then the decision to leave them and go out on your own. Um, how do you look back on the kind of success that you guys had back then? And I mean, that was worldwide massive success.
It was pretty. I mean, in the very beginning, I mean, to cut long story short, around that period, the freeze, muscle bound, Instinction, we were successful in the UK, a little bit in Canada.
Mhm.
Australia was pretty good for us. Some parts of Europe, but not massively. We were more of an underground band, really. And it wasn't until we hit the True period that all of a sudden True was, well, that was the key. That was the opener. And the style of the band and the musical sound of the band changed completely. And even my voice, I went from being more, as a got along, it was a more, I was, so true. It was kind of just different. And but all of a sudden, number one in 21 countries around the world, and it was like bang! It was just the whole thing exploded, and we were able to tour all over the world and have fun. Started to make a bit of money, not too much, but we started to make a bit of money, um, and it was fun. It was good fun, and we had some amazing times as a band, and we lived the dream. But then, like all good things, sometimes it comes to an end, and there's differences between you as artists, individuals within the band, but also outside influences, wives, girlfriends, egos, greed, you name it.
Mhm. It
it
changed,
was
right?
it all happened in our band, which is kind of weird, because we thought we were going to be slightly sort of utopian in our approach to the way we were going to handle the music business. And in the end, actually, I think we really we fell foul of the music business, and fell foul of ourselves as well. I think it's sad. I think it's very sad. We got back together in 2009, 2010, also in 2014, 2015. And then the wheels came off again. So it's like, okay, whatever. But I mean, I think that the most important thing about music is to be happy. And I'm really happy with what I'm doing. I have a fabulous band. We've been together. God, bass player Phil Williams has been with me for 30 years now. Some of my crew guys, 25, nearly 30 years. So I've got a really happy ship. I dived in and out Spandau a couple of times, but then it got to the point, if I'm honest, I just could not do it anymore. There were just too much stuff. There's too much stuff going on,
Mhm.
and so I quit the band. And that was it. And I haven't seen. I've seen Steve Norman because there's a family connection there. But I've not seen the others in the band since we parted ways in Hong Kong, I think it was, in 2015.
Wow. I mean, it'd be easy to rest on your laurels and say and go out and perform nothing but the old Spandau Ballet stuff. But
Yeah,
I mean, obviously, you've got a love for what you're doing because you continue to record, you continue to make new music, right?
yeah.
We had it's been 40 years since Band Aid, since live,
God, yeah,
41 years now, which is crazy to think of that much time passing, quite honestly.
yeah.
We've had the luxury of time passing and to look back on it and how iconic and amazing it was at the time. Obviously, you guys had no idea. We had Majur on in the record player last year, with just around the time of the anniversary of it, and he went on about the whole experience and about you know, just the whole thing and how, again, nobody knew at the time what was happening, but now you can.
No,
What are your memories of that morning? I want to look before we get into Live Aid, just a little bit about that morning.
the Band Aid. Well, basically, Midger saw, I think it was Gary Martin and Steve on the King's Road. So not Midger, Bob Geldof saw them on the King's Road and said, guys, there's a terrible famine happening in Ethiopia. It wasn't even being reported about in the press. And, I want to get something together and make a record and try and make a difference, at least highlight what's going on over there and the terrible tragedy. And the guy said, yeah, okay, well, we'll ask Tone and John. And we both said, yeah, of course. Bob's a friend of ours. Midge is involved, and Midge's involvement was crucial in this. He was absolutely instrumental. So all of a sudden, loads of bands said, yeah, Bob, yeah, Midge, we'll come along. We were with the Duranis in Germany the night before, got absolutely stomped, and landed back in the UK. By this time, the whole thing had snowballed, and we're pretty rough. I tell you, pretty rough. And all of a sudden, it was like there was screaming fans outside. There were cameras, and the press was like, "Oh my God, it's just ballooned." So there we were, hairspray, makeup, trying to make ourselves look half decent. And we went along to the studio. Trevor Horn was there, and there was all our mates, contemporaries. The Quo Boys were there, Cool and the Gang. The Sting was there. Phil Collins. I mean, just a room full of amazing artists. George Michael, and it was brilliant. It was all quite relaxed. We were all crammed into the control room, and Geldof actually said, "Go on then, Hadley." He said, "Go on, you go and do the first line." So I went down and did the first couple of lines. And then that was the start of it. Status Quo, Rick and Francis were the funniest guys all day long. They kept us entertained. Rick Parfitt, what an amazing man. And it was a real casual affair. It was a biscuit and a cup of tea and a chicken drumstick and a sausage roll for lunch. I mean, there was no grandeur about it at all. It really was really simple.
Nothing.
And I don't think any of us thought that it would lead to Live Aid. I mean, we just thought we're doing something here. We're obviously attracting a lot of attention there because there's so many wonderful artists there. But I don't think we thought that it would lead to Live Aid, and that was just something else. That was incredible.
You guys were lucky enough to perform sort of early in the day when Charles and Diana were still there. The Royals were still there.
Yeah.
You only did the three songs. I've often wondered how you choose the three songs for something like that, for that kind of an event. How do you choose three songs?
In our case, bloody stupidly, because I think the three songs we did Only When You Leave,
which is my favorite Spandau Ballet song.
Oh, from the parade, yeah, from Parade album. Yeah, that's a good track, that, actually. Only When You Leave, True.
You have to.
Did we do three songs and a new song called Virgin?
We did Virgin.
Yeah, because you only had 15 minutes. The stupidest thing we ever did was perform a new song. Why we didn't do Gold, I kind of do remember why we didn't do Gold, but I think it was because on the record it had all the dum dum dum, all the kind of cellos and strings and everything, and at that point there wasn't the technology to sort of recreate it. But we could have done a rock and roll version. But Queen, by far the cleverest people on the day went, we've got long songs too. But what we're going to do is we're going to edit those songs and get as many of our songs into that 15-minute time slot. I think we were the only band that did a new song, and it wasn't one of our best. So we should have done, to cut long story. We should have come on and just done To Cut a Long Story Short. To cut long story short, bit of True, bit of Gold, whatever. And but we didn't. Never mind. But that's the way it goes.
Was Through the Barricades out yet when you did that? Because I've heard that.
No,
I heard that somebody told me that was your favorite Spandau Ballet.
that's my favorite. Through the Barricades, that wasn't recorded till 1986. That was on the Barricades album. If that had been written, we would have done it, because that's just, lyrically would have connected with people all over the world. It is my favorite song. It's a song that, if there's one song that gets certain people in the audience, it's going to be that one. True's your lovey-dovey song, Only When You Leave, Highly Strung, Lifeline. They're all kind of good rock and roll numbers. Gold is the kind of football anthem. But True, you'll get people kiss each other. But Through the Barricades will be the song that gets people quite emotional. And one of the most emotional things that ever happened with that particular song was a guy was holding on to his young daughter in the audience, and she lifted up a little plaque and said, "We miss you, Mummy." Oh, honestly,
wow.
That was, I was like, I can't look. I'm quite an emotional person anyway. But that was just. And then when we played Through the Barricades, when the Berlin Wall came down,
yeah,
there we were talking to the East German guards, and everyone's coming over in their trabants and selling bits of ball. They discovered capitalism in a nanosecond, and then we played the gig in the evening. And when we played Through the Barricades, there probably wasn't a dry eye in the house. In Germany, in particular, that always goes down $1 million. Great song, brilliant song.
Waking up over the last few mornings and I love seeing show announcements, and summer's coming, and I keep seeing a few for you in June with Holly Johnson and Heaven 17.
Yeah.
In July with Level 42 and Hue and Cry, good Scottish band there, and and in August with a more Scotland tie-in and Proclaimers and Nick Kershaw. How much fun are those shows to perform with your peers and be out and with all the people that you experienced all this with?
Yeah, to be honest, all the festivals that we do, UK-based or European-based, and we're also in New Zealand and Australia in March as well. We got some festivals there. It's just great fun. I've known, Nick Kershaw for donkey's years, Hue and Cry, great guys. There's not a band that I don't really know. I don't think I've ever met the Proclaimers, so that's going to be an interesting.
You'll have fun that night.
yeah. So myself and my band, we love musicians. Love other musicians, to be honest. And when you're backstage, and all right, and Midge, you mentioned Midge, he's an amazing guy. Heaven 17, Culture Club, and we'd all have a beer together and take the mick out of each other and stuff. We just like hanging out. So it's a great atmosphere backstage.
I know the world's a bit of a mess right now, and here in Canada, we're being scolded by the US at the moment. We don't know if we're Chinese or American or what we are at the moment, but any chance we're going to get you here? You mentioned Canada. Is that all it takes, is somebody to show interest and say, get your guys over here? And
it is, yeah. Spandau Ballet are no longer here, but I'm Tony Hadley and I sing all the songs. And, and I'm a great believer that, when you do a gig, when we do festivals or shows or whatever, even in the big band show, we still did Barricades, True, Gold, and Only When You Leave. Mm-hmm. And some of those songs really lend themselves to the kind of the big, powerful brass section. But as an artist, you always got to give what people want. Those songs bring back memories. When you do True, it reminds people of their first love, their first kiss, their first dance or whatever. And so you've got to give memories. So for me, even though it's me on my own with I call them the Fabulous TH Band, we do all the hits. And then it's nice to throw in a couple of new songs saying, this is Mission Impossible, really hope you like it, Walk of Shame or whatever. And getting a reaction off the crowd as well. And as long as you give people what they want, they'll react really kindly to the new stuff as well. So if there's anyone out there that wants me and my band to come over in Canada, listen, any festivals, we'll come over. We'll come over, and I mean, I love playing live. I mean, it's my thing. Yeah. So if we can come over to Canada and visit you guys, I'll be happy. But going on about the world is bonkers, mad. Have you been?
Is it ever?
I mean, what's going on in the British press at the moment with the Epstein files? It's you couldn't make it up.
No.
And then you guys in America at the moment, I mean, you couldn't make that up. You're meant to be the best of friends. It's crazy.
Any scriptwriter in the world wouldn't have been able to come up with any of this, I'll tell you. We do, you know what? You don't even have to come over just to perform. We've got the World Cup happening soon here. So you could, you're an Arsenal fan, so you could come over and watch England play. I'm a Rangers fan, so Scotland's in this.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We're good, right? We can get you over to watch a game.
That'd be great. That'd be wonderful, actually. It'd be really good.
Best of luck with the new record.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
In the upcoming shows. If I Can Dream can be found on vinyl. You mentioned it, colored vinyl, and of course on all the usual streaming services.
And CD and streaming and all that stuff. Yeah.
True was the first song that I ever slow danced to a girl with in my entire life. I was 13 years old, and that was our song. So this has been a thrill for me to actually be able to sit and chat with you.
Scott, thank you very much. Nice to chat. Say hi to everybody in Canada. Everybody knows me.
Thanks for being with us, Tony.
Take care, mate. Thanks very much. Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.
Bye.